Hello. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get up and running with Postgres on your computer using a Docker container. Now, Docker, if you've never heard of it, uh, that's not unusual. It's used by professional software developers, it's used by companies to run their applications, their websites, and things like that. It's generally used for deployment, but it can be used to deploy things to your desktop computer, and that is really nice. What Docker does is it deals with containers. Now, Postgres, if you're trying to install Postgres on your Mac or your PC, you will find that there's a lot of configuration you need to do. You need to set path variables and passwords and things like that. And when I was a teacher in the classroom at the university, I'd have 100 students trying to install this, and they would all have different issues, and I would need to troubleshoot all of those. So what a container does is it encapsulates the running program, but also with all of the environment and dependencies it needs, so that it doesn't need anything outside of that bubble, that container. And that means I don't care if you're running a Mac, a Windows, a Linux laptop, or something else. If you can run Docker, you can run the Postgres container, and that's enough for us to go through these lessons in Postgres. So the program you need, if you have Docker, that's the requirement. If you have Docker on your system, you can download a container and run it. Okay, so as you can see, this is the Docker website. The product you want is called Docker Desktop. And I have a little icon in my toolbar that shows that it is running, um, and that's what we need. Okay, so in order to use Docker containers, you need to be able to type at the command line in your computer. So on a Mac, in the Applications folder, in the Utilities folder, you'll find something called Terminal, and this is the command prompt for your system. If you've never used it, don't be afraid of it. People will think you're really, really smart. They'll think you're a real hacker if they see you typing in commands on the command line. I actually don't like to use terminal. I like to use something called iTerm2, which is a kind of enhanced terminal. Just a little better features. You can change the font size, for example, if you're doing an online video. And if you're on Linux, you're also looking for a terminal. It might be called a console. On Windows, you're looking for the command prompt or PowerShell, um, or there's actually a couple other options on Windows as well. But generally, this is a place where you have a prompt where you can type in commands. So the first command I'm going to type in for you is which PSQL. PSQL is the program we need to log into a Postgres database. So kind of the minimum requirement, and the only really requirement to get started with the lessons I'm going to be giving here, is you need to be able to run the PSQL program to log into a Postgres database. And as you will see, PSQL is not found. I have no Postgres on this system. I will also show you my list of Docker images. Okay, and this is a table that shows you what containers my system knows how to build. An image is like a rubber stamp for stamping out containers. And I have no images on this computer. I have no Postgres image downloaded on this computer. Okay, so there's no Postgres anywhere on my system. This is how you run Postgres. Docker container run Postgres latest. What it will do is first it will check on my system if I have an image called Postgres with a tag called latest, and it won't find it, and so it will go to Docker Hub. Docker Hub is a website where Docker maintains official images, and also third parties can store images that we can reproduce on our system. So I'll hit enter. Okay, unable to find it locally, pulling from library Postgres, and you'll see it actually is doing a whole bunch of different downloads. Those are layers. A Docker image is composed of layers. Probably the first layer is some kind of Unix distribution, Linux distribution, and then it installs dependencies Postgres needs, and then it installs Postgres, and then maybe it configures Postgres, and each of those steps is another layer. So that took maybe 10, 15 seconds, and Postgres is already running. Okay, database system is ready to accept connections. You can see it right there at the bottom of the screen. So I now have a running Postgres server, And if I want to actually sort of get some information about that, I'm going to need a new window. Excuse me. Okay, so I have another terminal window here. And the font I know is really small for you, but that's because I need to show you a table. The command is docker ps. And what that has done is listed the Docker containers that are running on my system. You can see there's one. It's got a container ID 8CA86979. That's just gibberish. It's just a unique ID. The image is Postgres. It shows you the command that ran it. It was created 38 seconds ago. It's been up for 36 seconds. It wants to expose this network port. It's actually not accessible over the network, but it's sort of willing and ready to be. And then it gives you a name, Bold Dudney, which is again randomly generated. So I have this container. I have a Postgres server, and I can see the server log output on this terminal. But let's just get this one to a, we're going to use this other terminal to log in. Okay, and here's how you log into your new database. Docker exec, that means we're going to run a command on an existing container, not setting up a container, we're running a command on an existing container. -it means interactive, means we want our command prompt to be attached to the container's command prompt. And what command are we going to run? PSQL-u Postgres. PSQL logs in, -u Postgres means we're going to log in as the username Postgres. Oh, I forgot to put the container name. Docker exec -it, and then I need bold dudney, or that sort of gibberish container ID. And that's actually what I usually use because you don't have to type in the whole thing. Usually the first 3 or 4 numbers is enough. You just need the unique container. So 8CA8 in this case. Whereas if you're using the name, you can't just type bold. You actually need to type the whole thing. But either way, the container ID or the container name, and then here's the command we're going to run, PSQL-u Postgres, once we're in the container. Okay, there you are. That's where you need to be in order to start this course. Okay, we're at the Postgres command prompt. We're in the database. We can do \DT to list the tables. There are none yet. \L, I believe, lists the databases. Okay, there's 3 databases. Postgres, template 0, template 1. We're going to create new databases in this course. We're going to, probably one called Lab 1 and Lab 2 and so forth. But we're in the Postgres database. We can, I want to get to the top of the screen. Can I do that? No. No, that doesn't work. But we can do create table foo with an ID which is an integer and a name which is text. Okay, and there it is at the top of the screen now. Hit a semicolon. Okay, we created the table. Insert into foo ID name values 1 Joe 2 Perry, and then select star from foo. So we're doing a select query. We're selecting our data. We're actually get data out of that table. So we are in Postgres in a container. It doesn't affect anything else on our system. It is totally encapsulated in a bubble, and yet it doesn't even know if it's on Mac or Windows or PC. It doesn't even know that. So very nice way to get up and running quickly. Pretty much you just need to sort of memorize the commands or make shortcuts on your system to type them. But there's really only 2 that you need. There's the one to start a container. Okay, so I'm back to my system here. And there's the one to log into it, docker exec. So let me show you. So we started the container. It's still in that other window here. So you actually see the log. It shows you where I made an error. You don't need to attach attach these outputs to your terminal screen, so you don't need two terminal windows. What you could do is Docker container run -d for detached Postgres latest. So this is the command. You only need to run it once to create your Postgres database. I'm going to run it again here, and I'm actually going to have two on this system, which is not a problem. They don't conflict with each other. Okay, so now Docker PS to list them. You can see I have two in the list. One is just came up 3 seconds ago. It has a new ID 0B41 blah blah blah. Naughty Keldysh. And but I'm not getting the log output on my screen. It is sort of in the background. If I want to get rid of one of these, Docker stop 8CA. So now I just have the one running. These should continue to run even after you shut down your computer and start it up again. If you want to turn it off, maybe it's making your computer run slow, Docker stop OB4, and when you start the computer again, Docker start 0B4, and your data will be preserved. So even after you stop it and start it, the data you did from a previous lesson will still be there for you to query. Though if you delete the container, if you delete the image and create a new one, the data won't still be there. Okay, so that's important to know. But stop and start is great. Container run is what creates it, and then Docker exec is how you run a command against a running container. -IT for interactive. 0B4 is the ID of the container. PSQL-U Postgres is the command and the username. So you may want to memorize this or write this down on a sticky note and put it next to your computer. But if you with this one command, each time you do a lesson here, you are in your database and ready to follow along with my videos.